Meet my new friend Ovela. Ovela is a content creator and YouTube giant, known for his entertaining reaction videos. Ovela has actually reacted to a few of my videos in the past. Although he's Algerian Canadian, Ovela features a ton of Filipino content on his channel, and his genuine love for the Philippines is apparent. Check out his channel, link in the description below. Ovela and I had a great conversation about his up-and-coming trip to the Philippines, growing up bilingual, how he got started making Filipino-related content, and so much more. I hope you guys enjoy the video. The first video that you reacted to of mine, I sent it to you on Instagram, and you were kind enough to react to it on your channel, and it actually helped me a lot in my early days growing my channel. Yeah, I definitely saw like a bump in my metrics where a lot of people from your channel came over to mine. So I want to thank you for that. That was really nice of you to do that.
It was my pleasure. You're welcome. Honestly, every time someone asks me to do something like that for them, I do it, with wholeheartedly.
Looking at your videos on your main reaction channel, it's not exclusively Filipino content, but there's a lot of Filipino content.
Yes, it's usually Southeast Asian content. Like it can be Indonesian content as well, or Malaysian content, but mostly Filipino.
I mean, let's take it back to the beginning. How did you get started doing content creation?
Well, at first, because at the core, I'm a sound engineer and beat maker. And for years, I was producing music, right? My ex was the singer, I was the beat maker. I thought to myself, how can I garner an audience to listen to my music, And one day I just stumbled on a reaction channel on YouTube, and I thought that was interesting. And I thought to myself, you know what? I think I can do this, and I think I can do it even better than the guy that I'm watching right now. And yeah, here we are. But I know what your next question is. How come you're making content exclusively almost just for Filipinos?
My second beginner's Tagalog course is now available. I am so excited to share with you what I've learned after speaking Tagalog for nearly a decade in this second volume of my beginner's Tagalog course. I'm not interested in teaching you anything that you can't actually use in conversation with Filipinos. This course is all about helping you gain useful vocabulary and essential grammar points so that you can actually express yourself in Tagalog. I know what it's like to feel overwhelmed and intimidated by the idea of jumping into learning a new language. But trust me, you can do it, and I'm here to help you. Click the first link below to get started. Now, back to the video.
I think it was like 2 months or 3 months after I started the channel, Filipinos started asking me to react to their content in the comment section, And back in the day, I only knew that the Philippines was a country in Asia and that it was paradise, like teal waters, white sand, and that it was really hot. But that's the only thing that I knew about the country. And they asked me, and I was like, sure, why not? Let's try. So I reacted to one of their artists. It must have been maybe Katrina Velarde or Morissette Amon, and I really enjoyed it. And that video got a lot of views, and I was so surprised myself and my ex at the time. But why did I continue to react to the content? It's because of the Filipinos, because they are such humble, kind, sweet people. Like the interaction with Filipinos was so easy. And yeah, I just kept reacting to Filipinos till this day. And at some point, I just decided, you know what? Let's make this channel almost all about Filipinos. Because on YouTube, it's also smart, I think, and important to niche down. I think that's how they say it in English.
Yeah, and there's something unique about Filipino viewers as well. Like the way that Filipinos have embraced my videos as well. I mean, both of us are not Filipinos, right? We don't have any Filipino blood, right? But we are embraced by them, and they obviously enjoy our content. And I just find them to be very supportive.
Absolutely. I received a lot of, not hate, but what is it called? Lashback?
Backlash.
Backlash. There you go. Backlash. Because I tend to be very honest in my reaction videos. So if I don't like something, even if it's about Filipinos, I will tell them. And, obviously they're not going to take it very lightly and they get upset. So I'm wondering if you've encountered that type of hate at some point.
My content is different because I don't do reactions to things, and so no one is really asking my opinion on anything. My videos are focused on languages or on Tagalog, more specifically, than anything else. And so there isn't a lot of room for me to say, like, oh, I like this or I don't like that. I receive very, very few negative comments, and I'm lucky. I feel really lucky about that.
At some point, I reacted to, you probably heard of them, SB19.
Yes.
They're, like P-pop group. And I just said in one of their music videos that I thought maybe they had put on too much makeup, and they did not like that at all. Until this day, when I still like react to SB19, I still get some haters in the comment section. They basically do not want any negativity to be said about them or their country. They're very proud people, which is something that I admire and appreciate as well. Algerians are as well. In like a soccer game, for instance, even if it's not a game between Algeria and another country, you will see an Algerian flag waving somewhere. That's how proud we are, So we have that in common with Filipinos. But the thing is, I also opened my second channel because I felt like I wouldn't be able to only dedicate my reaction videos to just Filipino content. I needed like a second channel to do something completely different. So the second channel, I basically do music commentary again about French hip hop.
Okay, that's the one that's all in French.
Exactly.
I find that really interesting because when you make YouTube videos, people begin to expect something from you, right? They expect that if they subscribe, you're going to make this kind of content. In YouTube, you can kind of fall into a track of like, okay, this is the thing that people expect from me. And language is like, a big part of that. So when I started doing these interviews, I only did them in Tagalog. I did like 25 of these or 30 of them in Tagalog. And then almost by accident, I ended up recording one in English. I thought it was going to be more Tagalog, and then the person I was talking to was like, I don't really speak a lot. So I was like, oh, okay, well, let's do it in English then. And I did not know how it was going to go, but it was received really well. And I was like, okay, that's okay. I can do English ones, and Filipinos all speak English, so we're good. It's okay. I find it really interesting that you have these two channels where you do one in English and you do one in French, and they probably have completely different audiences as well.
Oh, absolutely. On my second channel, most of them they live in France.
What's your favorite thing about Filipino culture?
The people themselves. They are so welcoming. Like you can sense the kindness and that Filipino heart that they keep talking about, right? You can sense it via each interaction. They are very respectful, very welcoming, and just in general, they're very happy people. When I stumbled upon Filipinos, that was a shock to me, because I'm from Algeria and we're not like that at all. We like confrontation, But Filipinos are completely different. And I just can't wait to go there to actually experience that firsthand.
So is this the first time that you're going to the Philippines?
Absolutely. I've been wanting to go for such a long time, but at first, I didn't have the money either. And then when I decided to go, COVID hit. So that was not an option. Then the third time, it was a misunderstanding between my brother and I because we wanted to go to the Philippines together. And finally this year, it's happening, and I'm going there with him and a friend of ours.
What's the biggest thing that you're looking to get out of your trip to the Philippines?
I'd love to meet Filipinos. That's the number one thing that I want to do because, interacting with them via the DMs it's not the same thing. But obviously, I want to experience so many things. The food. You said, I think that in Vancouver, they have 2 Jollibees, right?
Yeah, that's right.
We have none. So I want to experience Jollibee, but I want to experience more like local food as well. So how many languages do you speak though?
I would say like 4.
Okay, so I'm guessing English, Tagalog, German, and Spanish.
Yeah, exactly. These days, my German is the weakest of those. I use Tagalog all the time for my videos. My girlfriend is Colombian, and we live together and we speak Spanish most of the time. I use those languages all the time, and then obviously English. But then German, I don't really have a lot of people to talk to, so now that's the weakest one.
But I gotta tell you, man, your Tagalog is impressive. My gosh, the first time I reacted to your video, I was shocked. I was like, this dude is freaking Canadian. He never visited the Philippines, and yet he can speak Tagalog so freaking fluently. It's amazing.
I think I've always kind of had a thing where I really wanted to fit in with the people that I was around. And so I just worked really hard at learning the language. The language is such a great way to connect with people, you know? Like if you want to be a part of the group, just learn the language and like you're in basically.
So my question is now that you speak 4 languages, when you think, which language do you think with?
A lot of people love to talk about, when it comes to multilingualism, they want to talk about that, like the languages that people think in, and do you switch depending on the group you're in. The problem that I have with that concept is that I don't think anybody thinks in a language. I think you think in kind of abstract ideas.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like if you're saying, "Oh, I want to go get a coffee," you're not literally going in your head, "I would like to drink a coffee."
Yeah, you're not saying it. Yeah, you're not saying it.
You just have a feeling where you're like, "I think I'm going to do this." So I don't think I think in any language.
I don't know. No, because sometimes I do catch myself thinking in a certain language. Like if I want to get a coffee, I'll be like, I will be saying it in my head in a specific language. Maybe it's not the same thing for you.
When I talk to myself, it can be in a specific language, and that would change depending on the environment that I'm in. The example that comes to mind is I was working at a grocery store, and I was working in the produce department, and I was the only person in the department that wasn't Filipino. So my boss was Filipino. All of my coworkers were Filipino. A lot of the people coming into the store were Filipino. I was working there full time, 40 hours a week. So as you can imagine, I was speaking Tagalog for 39 out of 40 hours a week here. I was all the time. So when I would go to the back and I'd go into the cooler and I'd say, okay, what do I need? I'm talking to myself in Tagalog. I'm going, okay, anong kailangan ko dito? Yung uva, yung manzana. And so that would be the closest that I get to like thinking in another language.
Okay, so now I understand a little better why you're so fluent in Tagalog. Not only did you have a Filipina girlfriend, right, at some point, but you also worked in a store, basically a Filipino store, right?
Yeah, it wasn't technically a Filipino store, but that's the way that it was with the population, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you would also speak Tagalog with a bunch of Filipinos all week long.
I mean, I had years of my life where I probably spoke more Tagalog than English. I immersed myself in the language for a long, long time.
The language that you speak best is obviously, I think, English, right?
Yes, for sure.
And between Tagalog and Spanish, which one is it?
They're pretty close. It's different because in Spanish, you can translate things more directly. Even expressions and stuff a lot of times will translate. The word order is more or less the same. There's tons of overlap. With Tagalog, there isn't really. And so the way that you express yourself is very different.
The first time you heard Tagalog, what was your reaction? Like, how did it sound to you, the language?
I would say objectively, Tagalog sounds very quick. It almost sounds like a machine gun kind of a pace.
Especially when they rap. My gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, like the flip tops.
Bakit sa gulong ng palad di ka nakasabay? Anong gumuguhit ng sariling kapalaran? Baka sawing palad kasi tagumpay di nakapa sa kamay. Pinag-tryout ba ako ulit? Kung para sa'yo yun ay katakataka?
There's like very short sounds that repeat themselves. If the rhythm of English is do 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 do, in Tagalog it's do 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 do. Right? So
Absolutely, I agree.
I would say it's kind of like that. How many languages do you speak?
Arabic, English, French, and I learned a tiny bit of Spanish in school. And I know a few words in Tagalog.
So you are from Algeria, you said?
Yes, both of my parents are Algerian, currently reside in Algeria, and I visited the country 2 months ago.
Okay, and what age did you come to Canada?
I was 19 years old. It was for university.
Okay, so you were like born and raised in Algeria.
Yes, but I also lived in Morocco. I also lived in Kenya.
You've been all over the place.
Yeah, because, we had to follow my father who worked for the United Nations and the World Bank and all that. I decided to study at university here in Canada. And at the same time, my dad got a job at the World Bank in Washington, D.C. So when I was here, they were living in the US with my younger brother.
So you're like a very international family.
Yeah, I'm a citizen of the world. And now I have dual citizenship, Canadian and Algerian.
In Algeria, they speak Arabic and French.
It's a mess. It's a mess of both languages. Yeah.
What do you speak with your parents?
It's a mixture, but I speak mostly in French with my dad and Arabic with my mom. But English, I learned it in school, but also in Kenya, because in Kenya, they speak Kiswahili, but also English. So I went to Kenya at the age of 13, 14. I was a teenager and I learned the language there, you know.
And now some Tagalog you're learning.
Whoa, I don't know about learning. I just know a few words like kumusta, mabuhay, walang anuman, maganda,
Salamat.
salamat po, of course. Yeah, a few words like that. I'm hoping that I'll be able to pick up a little bit more of it when I visit the Philippines, you know, like more basic words, more basic sentences.
What city do you live in Canada?
Montreal. I'm in Quebec. You're in Vancouver, right?
Correct, yeah. I'm from Calgary, but I live in Vancouver now.
Okay, so we're like in the opposite sides of Canada.
Basically, yeah. We almost can't get any farther away from each other.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the demographic like in Montreal? Are there lots of Filipino people there, like in other places in Canada, or?
No, not as much as Toronto or Vancouver, basically like English-speaking cities. And that's really a problem for me because artists, for instance, like Filipino artists, they don't tend to come to Montreal for like concerts because the community is not that significant. But there is a community here, don't get me wrong. Like I even got recognized as soon as I stepped into the neighborhood, you know?
So your exposure to Filipino culture really came through YouTube more than anything else.
Oh yeah, that's it. That is why this trip is going to be huge for me.
Yeah, kind of bringing it all together. You said that there is a Filipino neighborhood in Montreal. Is there Filipino food there?
Well, yeah, they have Filipino supermarkets, they have Filipino restaurants. There's actually a Filipino restaurant not too far from my place as well called Junior.
Doesn't sound very Filipino.
It's Junior, basically, yeah.
Do you have a favorite Filipino food?
Pancit. I love pancit. Oh my gosh. But I also like adobo. You know, I like xiao pao, but that's not Filipino. I was told that's Chinese, I think.
Like the little dumplings?
Yeah, like they're white and there's like either chicken or whatever inside.
I think there's a lot of food in the Philippines that's come from other countries. And like stuff that I didn't even, like some history that I didn't even know. Like I've always said that lumpia is one of my favorite Filipino foods. I was doing another interview with a guy and I was telling him that it was one of my favorite foods, one of my favorite Filipino foods. And he said, oh, that's actually not Filipino at all. It's Chinese. We just took it from the Chinese. And I was like, oh, I didn't know the history of that. I've been saying that forever, that it's my favorite quote unquote Filipino food, right?
So aside from lumpia, then which Filipino dish is your favorite?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I like. I like kari kari. Have you had that?
No, not yet, but I've heard of it.
It's like basically a beef stew, and it's made with peanut butter.
Oh, I love dishes with peanut butter because actually a lot of African countries also make food with peanut butter. I was surprised that you asked me to for an interview. At first, I was like, sure, I'd love to because you seem like a wonderful guy and everything. But I was like, he usually, you know, interviews people that, you know, speak Tagalog or have been to the Philippines so they can actually share their experiences. But I'm just a YouTuber that listens and talks about Filipino music, you know, on YouTube.
But I mean, I'll be the first person to recognize that you can learn a lot about Filipino culture without going there. That's literally my whole brand, right? That's been my whole experience. And so you don't necessarily have to be in the country to learn about it. You can just be immersed in the culture somewhere else. And there's no way that you could have made the number of Filipino related videos that you have without learning a thing or two about the culture.
Oh yeah, of course. I've interacted with so many Filipinos off camera as well, like via the DMs and all that.
Do you still make music, by the way?
No, I don't have time. I wish, but I just don't have time, man. With 2 channels, 2.5 channels, nah. Maybe in the future. I don't know. We will see. But I've done music for such a long time. I'm okay dedicating my time to just being a music critic. I don't know what to call it.
Like, would you say that Filipino music is a genre in and of itself?
No. OPM to me is just music with Tagalog. They have ballads where they sing in Tagalog, but if you pick an artist to sing in English on the same instrumental, you won't be calling it OPM anymore, right? I mean, they do have their own type of music though, you know, like their traditional music. That is its own genre. But whatever is mainstream is not technically Filipino genre on its own.
It would fit into other genres just in a different language.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Filipino rap or like Filipino pop.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Like whatever SB19 does, it's basically K-pop with Tagalog. You'll see people are gonna hate on me in the comment section below just because I said that, but it's true.
Careful,
I mean,
careful.
Careful. I mean, they do inject a little bit of their, their culture and identity here and there, but it's not enough to call it like its own genre. And by the way, Filipino hip hop is amazing, man. It's fantastic. They're so good at it. And Tagalog language fits hip hop perfectly. I mean, I have friends that don't interact with Filipinos or anything like that, that listen to Filipino rap and keep sending me reels on Instagram of Filipino rappers. And they love Tagalog when it's rapped, but also the intensity of Filipino rappers. It's so raw, it's so real,
Do you have a favorite artist, a favorite Filipino artist?
I have many. Well, I react mostly to belters, Filipino belters like divas that have big voices that can push their voice to the limit. So I can mention some. Regine Velasquez, she's the queen of all queens in the Philippines. Like everybody has a lot of respect for her. Morissette Amon, Katrina Velarde, Casey Tandingan. Yeah, man, there are so many. And for hip hop, lately I've been following Flo G. He's been everywhere, man. He's incredible. Music and singing is such an integral part of Filipino culture. They start singing at such a young age with karaoke. I mean, it's incredible. They have 2-year-olds that can sing better than you or me. That's insane, man. Like when I tell them that I sincerely believe that they are the best singers in the world, I do believe it. I'm not lying. I mean, I've been reacting to their content for so many years, and I haven't heard singers that are as dedicated to singing as Filipinos.